What if your entire future is being held hostage by one single habit you refuse to break? That habit isn't hidden in the shadows. It stares you in the face every morning when you decide to delay, to scroll, to wait for the right mood. Laziness isn't some personality flaw or permanent weakness. It's a decision repeated so many times that it has convinced you it's part of who you are. But it's not. You weren't born lazy. You became lazy. And anything you've learned, you can unlearn. Laziness is deceptive. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up as comfort disguised as peace, as rest disguised as self-care. But it's none of those things. It's avoidance. Avoidance of effort, avoidance of discomfort, avoidance of the life you could have if only you chose action over ease. It tricks you into thinking there's always time. But there isn't. Time is passing. And with every minute you delay, you're building a life that doesn't reflect your potential. That's the real cost. Not just missed deadlines or wasted days, but the slow, silent death of the person you were meant to become. The mind will always default to the path of least resistance. That's how it's wired. But you're not a machine running on default. You are the only one who can override it, and deep down, you already know what needs to change. It's the task you keep avoiding, the habit you won't build, the goal you keep rewriting because you're afraid to face it head on. You can't outrun it. You can't hide from it. It will follow you until you confront it and kill it. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are simply choosing the easy road too often. But here's the truth. The easy road never leads anywhere worth going. If you want to feel alive again, to feel proud again, then you have to stop negotiating with yourself. Stop asking, do I feel like it, and start declaring it's time. Because it is. Not next week. Not when you're in the mood. Now, the reward isn't just a completed task or a checked box. It's the pride that comes from winning your own respect, from knowing you did what you said you'd do. That's the kind of power no one can take from you. That's the fire you've been missing. And once you taste it, once you remember what it feels like to show up for yourself, you won't want to go back. So stay with this. Don't look away. Because this isn't just a video. It's a mirror, a reflection of what you've let go, and a challenge to take it back. Watch till the end, because somewhere in these words is the switch you've been waiting to flip, the moment where you stop being who you've been and start becoming who you were always meant to be. Not someday, not later, now. You don't break laziness by waiting for a better mood. You break it by becoming someone who acts regardless of how they feel. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. We crave motivation like a drug, those fleeting moments of excitement, those temporary highs that make us feel unstoppable. But what happens when it fades? What happens when the rush dies and all that's left is the grind? That's when most people stop. Not because they can't go further, but because they've been conditioned to chase feelings, not results. Feelings are unreliable. They shift. They betray you. But actions? Actions build foundations. And when you move forward despite the resistance, despite the tiredness, despite the noise in your mind, you prove something far more powerful than motivation ever could. You prove that you own your life, that you decide, that you don't wait for the stars to align before you take a step. You step first. You move when it's hard. You show up when it's boring. Because discipline is not about doing what's easy, it's about doing what's necessary. The mind will resist structure. It will pull you toward distractions, toward comfort, toward delay. That's its job. But you don't have to listen. You don't have to obey the urge to stay still. Every time you rise anyway, every time you do the work you don't want to do, you create a new path in your brain, a new pattern, a new identity. One that says, I follow through, I finish what I start, I do the hard things. And that identity becomes a shield, a force strong enough to carry you through the storms that used to break you. It's not about how much you do in a day. It's about doing what matters most and doing it without compromise. Set the alarm. Make the list. Eliminate the noise. Don't wait for inspiration. Build a system that carries you when your willpower can't. Discipline isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the early morning when no one is watching. It's the quiet evening when you choose growth instead of entertainment. It's a silent, steady war against the version of you that settles. No one is coming to force you into greatness. No one is coming to push you when you're tired. That burden and that power is yours alone. You can either let your habits define your future or take control and define them yourself. And once you do, something incredible happens. You stop questioning whether you're capable. You stop needing proof because your actions become the proof. Your consistency becomes your confidence. This isn't about motivation. It's about self-respect. It's about looking in the mirror and knowing you kept your promise, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. That's what changes your life. Not a single moment of hype, but the quiet, daily decision to rise, to act, to choose strength over silence again and again until it becomes who you are. The moment you decide who you are is the moment everything begins to change. Not who you were yesterday, not who others say you are, but who you choose to become now. If you see yourself as lazy, every action you take will reflect that belief. You'll find reasons to quit, to delay, to justify comfort. But the second you change that identity, even before the results show up, your life starts moving in a different direction. It's not about pretending. It's about deciding. You are not stuck. You are not fixed. You are in motion. And every step you take writes the story of your future. When you declare, even silently, I am disciplined, your brain begins to seek alignment. It begins to reject the habits that no longer match that identity. That's not magic. That's neuroscience. Your thoughts shape your behaviors, and your behaviors reinforce your thoughts. Or it becomes a cycle, either building you or breaking you. And you are the one who chooses the cycle. Stop saying you're unmotivated. Stop calling yourself lazy. Every time you speak it, you anchor it deeper. You give it power. Words matter. Thoughts matter. They are instructions to the mind. So give your mind a different command. Speak the version of you that you want to become. I do hard things. I don't give up. I finish what I start. Say it even when it feels like a lie, especially then, because action brings belief, not the other way around. You don't wait until you feel strong to act strong. You act strong and strength follows. You don't wait until you feel ready to begin. You begin. And readiness grows with every step. The people you admire, the ones who seem unshakable, they weren't born with something you don't have. They just stopped waiting. They stopped identifying with weakness. And every time they acted with discipline, they reinforced the new version of themselves. Your life is shaped by what you tolerate. If you tolerate quitting, you'll keep quitting. If you tolerate delay, you'll stay behind. But if you raise your standard, even quietly, you begin to shift. And that shift doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It just needs your decision to no longer betray the person you were born to be. Laziness dies the moment you stop protecting it with excuses. When you rip off the label and say, that's not me anymore, you make room for something stronger, a version of you that doesn't run from hard work, that doesn't need perfect conditions to begin, that simply acts consistently, relentlessly. You are not here to repeat the same cycle. You are not here to survive. You are here to rise, to evolve, to build something that lasts. And it starts with the smallest shift, how you see yourself when no one's watching. That silent decision, made with full intent, is more powerful than any motivation. It is the foundation of a life built on purpose. Energy is your foundation, and focus is your weapon. Without energy, even your strongest intentions collapse. Without focus, even your deepest desires scatter into nothing. If you're feeling lazy, if you're constantly dragging yourself through the day, it's not because you lack drive. It's because you're drained, not just physically, but mentally. Your mind is cluttered. Your attention is fractured. And in that chaos, discipline suffocates. To kill laziness, you must protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Sleep like your dreams depend on it. Fuel your body with purpose. Move daily to sharpen your edge. These aren't side tasks. These are survival strategies. You cannot operate like a warrior if you're treating yourself like a machine. If your body is weak, your mind will follow. And when your mind is weak, laziness becomes the default. You begin to confuse exhaustion with lack of motivation. You begin to believe the lie that you're just not wired for greatness. But you are. You just need to reclaim your fuel, then cut the noise, silence the distractions. The world is not short on information. It's drowning in it. And every second you spend scrolling, comparing, consuming without intention, you're leaking energy. Focus is not a gift. It's a decision, a boundary, a line in the sand where you say, this is my space and this is what matters. Protect it. Defend it. Create routines that serve you, not enslave you. Start your mornings with clarity, not chaos. Know what your first task is before the day even begins. Simplicity builds momentum. Confusion feeds procrastination. Train your attention like a muscle. Set timers. Block distractions. Break your work into small, manageable victories. Don't aim to be perfect. Aim to be present. To be fully engaged in the task at hand, no matter how small. That presence will sharpen your confidence, and confidence is the antidote to laziness. When you believe you can make progress, even in small steps, you no longer need willpower to begin. You just begin. You have more control than you think. You don't need a new life, you need a new rhythm, a new standard, a commitment to yourself that nothing, not comfort, not tiredness, not temptation, will steal your focus from what truly matters. It doesn't mean you never rest. It means your rest is earned, not stolen. It means your energy is directed, not wasted. That difference is what separates the people who dream from the people who build. If you want to win the war against laziness, then you must create an environment where laziness cannot survive, and that begins with energy, with clarity, with reclaiming your time. Your future demands your focus. Your goals demand your strength. And the version of you waiting on the other side of discipline will only appear when you decide to stop negotiating with weakness and start building a life you can respect every single day, without exception, without excuse. You don't need the world's approval to start. You don't need applause to take action. What you need is one clear reason that matters to you, one reason to rise, one reason to push, one reason to stop wasting your time and start building the life that's been calling your name for too long. Laziness dies when your purpose becomes louder than your excuses, when your hunger to grow overpowers the comfort that's been keeping you small. This is not about being the best. It's about becoming honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what's holding you back. Honest enough to admit that you've been playing below your potential because it's easier than showing up every day with discipline and fire. Prove yourself, not to them, to you. To the version of you that wakes up in the middle of the night wondering if you'll ever make it. To the part of you that's been silenced by fear, buried under hesitation, hidden beneath years of hesitation. Prove to that voice that you're no longer going to sit on the sidelines of your own life, because your greatness will not show up on accident. It will only reveal itself when you step forward without waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. The moment is now. You don't need more time. You need more truth, the truth that you've had enough chances, the truth that no one is coming to rescue you from your comfort zone, the truth that every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. And at the end of it all, when you look back at your life, you won't remember the days you played it safe. You'll remember the days you decided to go all in, the days you silenced the noise, the days you followed through. That's what builds a legacy, not dreams, not wishes, not intentions, execution, grit. Relentless self-respect. So stand up, not because someone told you to, but because you know you're capable of more. Because deep in your core, you know you're not here just to exist. You're here to grow, to lead, to push beyond every label, every doubt, every chain you've wrapped around your own identity. Break it, all of it. You don't need permission, you need commitment. You don't need a map, you need courage. Courage to begin, courage to continue, courage to stand when everything in you wants to sit back down. This is your moment to decide that you will not be defined by delay, that you will no longer let laziness write the story of your life, that you will move, speak, build, and become without waiting. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply one decision away from momentum. And once that momentum begins, you will become unstoppable. The world may not see it yet, but you will. And that is enough, because you are the proof you always were. Every excuse you've ever made, every reason you've ever given yourself to wait, to pause, to delay, it all ends the moment you decide to move. Not just physically, but mentally. The shift begins in your mind, in that small, unshakable decision that you will no longer tolerate the gap between who you are and who you could be. That gap is not filled with more time. It's filled with action, repetition, daily decisions that pull you closer to the future you were built for. The version of you that doesn't need to be pushed, reminded, or convinced, because they know their worth and they act on it. You don't prove yourself by talking louder. You prove yourself by showing up again and again when no one is looking, when the fire is gone, when the excitement fades. That's where your character is carved. Not in the highlights, but in the silence. You rise every time you choose discipline over desire. You win every time you reject comfort disguised as self-care. You take ground every time you follow through, not for praise, not for approval, but because you refuse to betray the future you've committed to. Laziness is not a disease. It's a habit, one that can be broken the same way it was built, through choice, through patterns, through consistency. You want to feel proud, then do the things that earn that pride. You want to stop feeling stuck? Then stop staying still. You want clarity? Take action. Action clears confusion. Action quiets doubt. Action changes identity. And once you change who you believe you are, everything else follows. You don't need to fix your life in a day. You just need to prove to yourself that you can own this hour, this decision, this moment, and then do it again. You've waited long enough for motivation, for the right mood, for the right words. But all you've needed was this, the raw, unfiltered truth that your life is yours, and you are capable of building something extraordinary if you choose to. Nothing will change until you stop flirting with your potential and start marrying it. Stop admiring discipline from a distance and make it part of who you are. That level of ownership is rare. That level of intensity is uncommon. But so is greatness. So is self-mastery. And if you want a life most people never touch, you have to do what most people never will. From this point forward, it's not about feelings. It's about finish lines. It's not about hype. It's about follow-through. You're not chasing perfection. You're chasing transformation. And that only comes when you stop allowing laziness to have a voice in your life. Silence it. Replace it with movement. Replace it with purpose. Replace it with the truth that you were never weak. You were just waiting to remember your strength. Now you remember. Now you rise. And now you do the work, no matter what.